Okay, so here's my response to the discussion about the report and the website. I want to give you some congratulations on how well you read and looked at the site and the things you observed. Very nice work, and I thought that you also did a good job of asking each other questions, pointing each other to new and informational things on the site. So very nicely done in the discussion generally. I wanted to hit a few highlights that I thought you brought up and point you to some ways to use the discussion as you move forward with your drafts. So one of the things that I thought you pointed up in a very good way was the whole question of interactivity of documents. And I think it's easy to sort of equate interactivity with web, and I think partly that's because the web is by its very nature interactive. I mean, that is, we move through the web partly through our own activity by clicking and choosing our own path, often through websites. There's no website that's so tightly designed, unless it's just a single page, that it controls entirely our path through it. That's the nature of the web. So, but I would also say that good reading or good writing can also be interactive, and so I wanted to just make sure that I pointed that out, that good writing asks the reader questions, invites the reader to think about things, directs the reader's attention, and so forth. So I think the whole idea of an interactive report, that is, a representation of information that invites activity on the part of the reader, is a goal to strive for, and it's probably achieved partly through a balance of good writing and the visual. A number of you pointed out that the balance between the visual and textual was really important, although some of you saw it differently. I saw one person say that she thought that the one of the pieces was stronger because it was more textual without as many distracting graphics. But others of you saw it precisely the opposite way, which is that the graphics were the engaging and interesting part, and the text was not that interesting. It moved you out of engagement with the ideas of the piece. So I think one thing you might want to think about is asking your peers as they read your drafts of your report and your brief to say, do I have the balance between text and visual right? I mean, in other words, does it promote engagement on the part of the reader? The other thing that I thought was interesting was that a number of you said that you thought that the website was preferable because by its interactivity, it invited and directed people's involvement from the get-go. And this makes me think that perhaps some of you may want to think about designing your report to be a web document, and that is perfectly acceptable to me. I think it's a good idea, in fact, if you're interested in that. Let's see, one last thing I wanted to say, which is that often the interactivity of graphics, I think, makes information come alive. And, some of you may be capable of making that kind of graphic. Others of you may be more likely to make a sort of static graphic to represent information. Maybe you can ask each other for help in that regard in terms of creating good graphics that represent information and that help the reader to stay engaged with the text. Okay, this was a good discussion, and you did a very good job of reading the sources. It's encouraging to me to see what a nice job you did.